Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and before the Packers go win today, I figured I'd make this awesome video to help anybody out who's wondering when to pick up certain cards. Also, this might help you know what you're going to be up against at the next F&M, but I don't know, depending upon how quick the people are at your LGS, they may have already adjusted their decks by last Friday. So whenever a new set comes out, I sell thousands of singles, so I have the absolute front row seat to what's selling and what's not. So before all the major websites start showing little adjustments and trends, I have a bit of a front row seat to quite literally what is selling and what is not selling. So what cards are moving off the shelf, what am I already sold out of, and what am I not? You are going to be surprised, because I know I was. So Walking Ballista is the #1 rare. It's just flying off the shelves, right? Oh, not quite. The sales have been pretty low and I've had to cut the price. There's one I should mention before all of them. All of the inventions are unsellable. They are absolutely unsellable. It's just days and days and days of people undercutting each other by 50 cents over and over and over until somebody's like, oh, that's a reasonable price. So never buy one from a retail outlet. Never, ever, ever. You can get it for probably half the price on any kind of like user-based sale location like TCG Player or eBay. Those made up ridiculous prices, especially pre-orders, oh my gosh, nobody should ever use them, pay them, don't use them for a trade, don't even consider them. They are a complete fantasy price. These cards are just simply not sellable. There's, thousands of them pulled, and nobody wants them. I mean, the number of people who are like, yes, I will drop $100 on an ensnaring bridge, they do not exceed the amount of ensnaring bridges that are for sale, trust me. So they're a bad investment, and you really, if you want one, just wait a little bit until they bottom out, because, I mean, it's not like you couldn't buy a regular one, depending upon the card, in the meantime, and just use that. So back to the normal cards, SRAM's Expertise has sold like crazy. I think people are planning to use it to dump out massive amounts of servos, because if you have nothing but servo generation, it could be like a Fabricate creature with the free 3-cast, or it could be another spell that summons more servos. So for 4 mana, you could get, I guess, reasonably 5 servos. It's a little late game, and a lot of things have to be extremely fast with Aether Revolt, but if you can ramp up to 4 mana very quickly, I think this is doable. So Aether Sphere Harvester is supposed to be some big hot card. Unfortunately, I have sold 0. Yeah, 0. Absolutely 0. I think Red-White Vehicles is going to be just universal baseline amazing, even if it's not like a tier 1 deck, it's going to be exceptionally good, but nobody's buying the card. So apparently they're putting in other vehicles and this one just isn't making the cut or something, I don't really know. Now, as far as Rishkar Pima Renegade, I think I was able to actually raise the price on that one, and I believe I'm also sold out at this time, so yeah, definitely a good card. Okay, let's skip to the one everybody wants to know. Heart of Kiran. Okay, that $26 price tag for the regular version, the foil isn't even $26, okay? That was just like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I sold out of Heart of Kirans really quickly in sets of 4, and the price was good. I mean, it was close to 17 a piece. So it's still worthwhile. I mean, if you pull it, it's not like, oh, it's worth half what they said. Although, I don't know, it probably is worth about half what they said. Okay, not quite half. It's not that drastic. But, yeah, I mean, it's a good card, obviously. It's not great. I mean, there's nothing that special about it. Vigilance is completely worthless on a vehicle. But a 4/4 flyer for 2 that you can later permanently crew and jack up the attack power on, why not? So it's just a good card, but it's universally recognized as such a good vehicle that it's like, why wouldn't you play with it? I would definitely put it in a Super Friends deck as an emergency blocker too, because a 4/4 in the air where it can be crewed without a creature, I mean, that's pretty decent. Like, you're losing loyalty either way, so it kind of sucks. I'd rather put in like a real creature. But for 2 mana, I mean, come on, a 4/4 for 2 mana is pretty good. Now, unfortunately, the spell Disallow is kind of sinking in price a little bit. I mean, it's floating around just under 5 apiece, but it is moving. The sales are just unbelievable because, I mean, come on, it's one of the best counter spells ever printed, so obviously it's going to sell. The funny thing is, if you're going to wait to pick one up, I wouldn't. I don't see a spell that universal ever really going down much. I mean, is it ever going to clear under $2.50? Probably not. I mean, how many do you really think were opened versus the amount of people who want the best counterspell? I mean, just about. If you limit it to modern only, this pretty much is the best counterspell. I mean, there are ones that are more individually useful in a certain circumstance, but as far as overall power, this is it. Oh, and I wouldn't exactly invest heavily in other cards like, I don't know, Dissolve. That's probably a bad example, where you counter a spell and exile it. You know, it's the cancel and type of spells. This is pretty much cancel and to the max. So the crappy version of Ajani is selling terribly. I'm not sure about the Planeswalker version of Ajani, because, I don't know, I haven't opened mine yet. But yeah, the regular one, I mean, people are like, oh, if it costs $6, I might as well get the actually good one that costs $6. So it's really a shame they put the better one in the Planeswalker deck. But that one, they're so close, it's debatable. Now, the good news is, Spire of Industry, you may have heard me complaining about, you know, what the hell is wrong with people. Oh, how is this less expensive than a Mana Confluence right now? Since it's better, like, that's not an opinion, it is better. How the hell is it under $5 a piece? This is the only rare land in the set. I mean, there weren't even any dual color lands in it. Plus, the artwork looks really cool. I haven't seen one in foil yet, but just on regular paper, no foil, it just pops. I mean, that blue is amazing. That gradient just looks so good. Well, I mean, I could see Spire of Industry being pretty hot in standard, too, because it's just universal fixing. You're not like, oh, do I have 2 or more or 2 or less lands, or, you know, when did it come out? Boom, there's your fixing. The only problem is it's basically pain land. Like, you have to pay 1 life to get anything useful out of it, but if you use it to supplement the other fixing and just use it in case of an emergency, you're all set. The only problem is it has to compete with the blighted lands, and blighted lands are still kind of hot. I mean, if you're playing like white anything servos, why would you not put in Blighted Step, where you can pay a couple mana, ditch it, and generate like 10 to 20 more life? I mean, come on. It's like a free spell. I mean, it's like a free enchantment that you can activate later. You just drop it in for free. You don't even have to pay for it. The only problem is it generates colorless. So if you added it to Spire, you've got a whole lot of colorless, and you probably don't quite need that. So you'd end up using life a lot. So I think that's why it's not completely taking off in standard. But this in modern, I mean, come on. This should be like a staple in modern. This is so close to being as good as a fetch land, because typically people fetch a shock and then end up losing 3 life. Well, activated 3 times is the same thing. And what are the odds that you'd actually have to activate it more than 3 times in a game? Not terribly high. So I'm going to just get a bunch of copies and throw them in my deck. And once again, I don't think that card's going to go down very low at any time in the future, ever. It might sink another $1, but I mean, I just don't see this like hitting $1. That just can't happen. Oh, and I'm completely sold out of them. So yeah, the price sucks, but people want them. I mean, it's a good card, so theoretically it could creep up a little bit. Now, the one that surprised me, and honestly, I think I should have held on to mine, I guess we'll see in the very near future, Gonti's Aetherheart. It's about $2.50 a card. Yeah, what the hell? I think people realize that it costs $6, and that's what's holding it back. If it costs $4 or $5, people would be, you know, buying it like crazy. But it's part of an infinite combo. It is a 3-card combo, but the 3rd card can be one of like 20 to 30 different cards. So assuming you would pull one of those, it's a 2-card combo, so then you just have to get to 6. And it's in colorless. It's just, you know, you'd almost, to ramp up that high, have to be playing like something extreme, like Scions or Cryptolith, right? I mean, to get to 6 is pretty dang hard. So, you know, would you reliably get this card out in a game? Probably not. And if you did, you'd have to build your whole deck around it, which means you'd have to scry for it or go fetch it. So it's kind of hard to play with. But come on, people. It's an infinite combo. I mean, come on. I hate them. I think they're crap. I think Aether Revolt was designed like crap because it has about, I don't know, 5 to 10 different infinite combos in it. They're a bit elaborate, but the problem is you can throw 4 different infinite loop win conditions into your deck and just hope you hit one while also legitimately playing a game of Magic. It's not a glass cannon. Speaking of that, in general, the cards that have to do with dropping counters out, those are selling. I didn't think that counters would be very good. But then again, there's not a whole lot of creature removal. Some of it is like, you know, -3 across the field type spells. So if you're dropping counters out, and then late game dropping double the counters out, and then getting triggers every single time that you drop counters out onto something, and in the meantime you're attacking or blocking with creatures that keep getting bigger, that's a pretty solid deck. The only problem is with, any counter deck ever built, if somebody removes your creature and it has 5 counters on it, they just got a little bit more bang for their buck for their kill spells, so you're making their control better. I think that's what people were leery about, but there are so many infinite combos that you can put into a counters deck. Why wouldn't you do it? I mean, at any point you could just win the game without swinging. Or I think you would technically have to swing once, but you'd have infinite tokens, infinite counters, or infinite energy, which could also feed into infinite tokens. If you don't believe me, I mean, what the hell, like, have you been on the internet? But I guess I'll make a video in the future showing off all of the stupid combos that I cannot stand in Aether Revolt. I mean, the set was basically designed like Modern, and they pushed the power just to sell packs, and it's like, where the hell are they going to go from here in Amonkhet? I worry about the answer to that question. So anything having to do with counters, I have a feeling it's going to be pretty hot at least the first tournament, so pretty much all of them I expect to go up a little bit, so I'm hanging on to a couple. There's one more card, I guess I could say Metallic Mimic. I mean, it literally goes into any tribal ever. You could put it in allies, you could put it into werewolves, vampires, spirits, anything in Modern, basically. Any tribal in Modern, I should say. But yeah, I mean, they're kind of selling. I mean, they're kind of hovering around the same price. They're not just like everybody's moving fire sales. So the fact that they're roughly $5 a piece, I think that's worth it. I think that's appropriate. So that's why people aren't just absolutely clearing the shelves of them. Do I think it'll go up in the future? Not really. I mean, you look at the card and you're like, that's what it does. Okay, I get it. Can I put it in this deck? There's no like, oh, I just found a combo with it. No, it's pretty clear what the combos are. I do think, though, that if that goes into a counter deck, which I don't think it will because counter decks are not typically tribal, it might go up a little bit, but otherwise I think we're pretty much seeing it where it is and it might kind of slowly drop. So, Yahenni's Expertise, supposed to be one of the best cards. It was super high rated rare, $6 or $7, right? I have sold 0 copies and the foil is worth about $9. So apparently nobody wants this. I guess they finally realized what some, I'll say, expert Magic players have noticed. If it says all creatures get -3 till end of turn, that also kills your creatures. And once people realize that, they realize that this card kind of sucks. And yeah, you get to cast a spell for free, or yeah, a 3 or less spell for free. Maybe it's a mid-sized creature if you're lucky. I don't know. I can't imagine what like spell it would be, like a non-creature spell. I mean, it's not like you just killed off your non-creature artifacts with this. So you can kill everything on the field, then replace something. Maybe you could get like a revolt trigger to go off. Because some stuff just probably left the battlefield, but a lot of people are playing smaller creatures in black, so it doesn't really work. It's basically an unreliable, underpowered board wipe that might work under some circumstances and is almost guaranteed to blow your creatures straight to the graveyard. So not a good card, never really was. I mean, I would say it's better than Drown in Sorrow, but it is far, far away from a Bile Blight. I mean, not even on the same power level. So now let's talk about the mega losers. I was using, view counts versus sold amounts versus I sold a couple foils of certain cards, etc. Let's look at what I've had to drop the price on way too many times. It is now unreasonably low, also known as the complete failures. Green Belt Rampager, not doing so hot. The price has dropped and dropped and dropped. Green Energy, it's not a great deck because that Mythic costs way too much. It's 7 costs 1. That's a little bit of a stretch. I mean, they took Green Energy, which was an okay solid deck, and they made it a lot better. They added like 3 or 4 cards to it, potentially, but a lot of people were playing, pummeler decks with it. I think a more like conservative, less single win condition version of Green Energy would be a little bit smarter. But apparently people disagree because they're not building this deck and they're not buying the Elephant, because the Elephant is a must include in a Green Energy deck. It doesn't matter if it's turn 2 or turn 10, it's good to get it out. Oath of Ajani is slipping a little bit. It's like $250 a card. Everybody said it would go in Modern Super Friends, which, who the hell plays that? Would it go into Commander? Absolutely, but then people only want 1 copy. Would it go into Standard? It's a little bit of a stretch. I mean, Standard Super Friends is always doable, but it's always like real sensitive and the numbers are really close and you can get mana screwed very easily even with all the Oath cards. And then if you are playing Super Friends, you gain almost no benefit from the first effect, so it's just not that great of a card. I mean, Wizards was trying to push it and they printed special, giant cardboard editions and gave them out as a promo and stuff, and it's just not that good. I mean, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, that's neat, but it's not that good. And plus, it's a 2-cost 2-color, so you better fix your crap by turn 2. Now, you can drop it out late game in a counter deck, except I'm going to take a wild guess. The counter decks that people are building are not those 2 colors, especially since the Hardened Scale Snake is not those 2 colors. That is unfortunate, although they're looking a little bit too powerful, those decks anyway, so yeah, pump the brakes a little bit and print Oath of Ajani in different colors. I'm fine with that. Well, Tezzeret the Schemer, you knew this one was coming. The price just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping, and I haven't sold a single copy. Complete loser. I mean, yeah, he costs 40, does something kind of cool. It's just the other version is way better, but 6 mana is a hell of a difference. And they're both powerful, so it's like, would you throw both into a deck? Yeah, probably, but apparently people are saying, no. I expect that one to fall even further. Herald of Anguish is dropping a little bit, probably because it's not a good card. Yeah, black-white servos, or just mono-black servos. What do we want to do in that deck? Get rid of servos in massive amounts. That sounds like something to do. Baral or Baral or whatever, Chief of Compliance, he's crap. He's been falling like crazy lately. People only want 1 copy and they want it for Commander, let's be honest. I might maybe try to put him into my deck, the Beholder deck, Beholder Alpha. But honestly, Spell Queller is probably a better choice. So yeah, this, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I like the whole 1 less thing, but he doesn't deal a whole lot of damage. And I'd have to spend 2 mana on him, which means then on that turn I can't cast a counterspell if it's early enough in the game. But he himself could take like a 2 cost and make it a 1 cost, or 3 costs and make it a 2 cost if it's not all mono blue, which does not describe every card in the deck. Plus he's legendary, you don't want to get jammed up with that, so I don't know. I mean, and the whole draw card, oh, but then discard it, that is completely pointless. Absolutely pointless late game, except to get cards I don't want out of the way. If I pull a card I do want, well, then I'd have to discard it because I have nothing else in my hand. So I'd say that pretty much sums it up. I mean, Whir of Invention has gone straight down the toilet. It looked like it was going up just a little bit, and then that one's just dead now. It's completely worthless. That was actually a little surprising, but I guess just nobody found a deck to put it in. It could shoot back up, so if you've got a copy, maybe hold on to it a little bit, but triple blue is just absolutely harsh. So if there's a card I didn't mention other than this, I don't know, it means it didn't do anything exciting, like Fatal Push. It's just kind of sitting at the price it always was. Some are selling, probably not going to go up or down. There's nothing exciting about it. A lot of the expertise cards, they kind of started low, and then they're not selling, and now they're staying low. I mean, nothing real exciting happening to it. So the only thing that's really going to mess with the prices is obviously the next major tournament. That's when the stupid net decking sheep get out mommy's credit card and start to be pay-to-win douchebags. I always find the first tournament especially funny because it never indicates what the best decks are. It always changes because anybody could show up with anything to that tournament and only a small number of people can win. And like I've said, what if the best deck shows up, but it's not ran by the best player? It ain't going to make it to the top 8, is it? So, I mean, you get some good decks out of it, but you won't get the best decks out of it. And then the first thing that any intelligent player does is looks at the list, looks at what's popular, and then builds exactly what beats it. So if you're one of the people who watches the first tournament and then builds one of those decks, you are so stupid. I mean, there is no 2 ways about it. It is a waste of money. So anyway, that was your inside peek into what's hot and what's not. It looks like I might actually maybe break even for this set, or at least lose, a couple hundred instead of 1,000 like sets in the past. Unfortunately, there is no such thing as a valuable 184 card set. There's too many copies of everything floating around. That's just how it works. With the push power of this, everybody over-ordered and everybody overestimated everything, and the prices are just going to crash as a whole. So there's a couple that I said might go up, but everything else expected to just tank. I mean, it's going to be the 99-cent Rare-a-thon pretty damn quick. So that's a shame, but hey, that means you can build anything. And, with these universal cards, yeah, you could build anything. It's just probably the net decks are all going to win on turn 4, so who cares? You can't really build anything then, but If you don't have those types of people at your LGS, which I kind of don't, then you are open to build anything and it's going to cost you practically nothing, so yay, silver lining. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go take a whole bunch of pills because I injured my knee working private security. Wait, what do I usually say at the end of the videos? It is really damn early in the morning. Peace, much love, magic for good. Oh wait, no, that's not what I say. Oh wait, okay, I remember it now. It's this is Des Magic. I'm Des. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.